In October 1997, two men won the Nobel Prize in Economics. Their names were Myron Scholes and Robert Merton, and at the time, they were partners in the most celebrated hedge fund on Wall Street. Their models were considered flawless. Their returns were extraordinary. Banks were begging to give them money. Less than 12 months later, their fund had lost $4.6 billion, threatened to collapse the global financial system, and had to be bailed out by the Federal Reserve. These weren't careless people. They weren't greedy amateurs. They were, by any measure, the smartest investors alive. And that's exactly the problem. By the end of this video, you'll understand why intelligence doesn't just fail to protect you from bad financial decisions, it actively helps you make them. And the third reason? It's the one nobody in finance wants to say out loud, because it means the very thing you trust most is working against you. All right, let's get into it. Here's the first thing to understand. Your brain isn't broken. It's just running software that was never designed for money. Kahneman and Tversky's research established something that's now bedrock psychology. Losses feel roughly 2.5 times more painful than equivalent gains feel good. Not twice as bad, 2.5 times. That's not a personality flaw, that's hardwired neuroscience. Stanford brain imaging studies showed the pain of financial loss activates the same neural region as physical pain. Literally, the same region. So what do smart people do with that? They hold losing investments too long, because selling means admitting the loss is real. And they sell their winners too early, because locking in a gain feels like relief. Terence O'Dean tracked 10,000 trading accounts and found investors were 1.5 times more likely to sell a winner than a loser, the exact opposite of what works. Here's the fix, and you can use it today. For any financial decision over $500, impose a mandatory 48-hour wait. That's it. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that mandatory cooling-off periods reduced bad borrowing decisions by 29%. You're not fighting your brain, you're just making it wait until the emotional spike passes. Now here's where it gets more uncomfortable. The second reason smart, high-earning people stay financially stuck has almost nothing to do with brain chemistry. It has to do with identity. Financial planners have a term for a pattern they see constantly: Henrys. High earners, not rich yet. These are people making $250,000 to $500,000 a year who are essentially broke. A 2022 survey found that 36% of people earning over $250,000 annually live paycheck to paycheck. These are not people who don't understand compound interest. The mechanism is lifestyle inflation. Every raise gets absorbed immediately. Bigger house, nicer car, private school, better vacations. The gap between income and expenses never closes, it just moves up a floor. But here's the deeper layer. For high achievers, the spending isn't irrational, it's identity maintenance. The BMW isn't transportation, it's evidence that you made it. Downgrading feels like confessing failure, to your colleagues, to your parents, to yourself. Behavioral economist Sendhil Mullainathan found that high-status professionals make their worst financial decisions specifically in spending categories tied to professional identity, because protecting that identity consumes so much mental bandwidth that rational calculation gets crowded out. Carl Richards, a financial planner who documented this in his book The Behavior Gap, sat across from a surgeon, 22 years of earning $600,000 a year, who had a net worth of $800,000, less than 2 years of his own salary. His reaction wasn't anger. Richards described it as something quieter, like realizing you left something important at home and you're already too far to go back. The structural fix is pre-commitment. In 2004, behavioral economists Thaler and Bernarzi designed a program called Save More Tomorrow, where employees agreed in advance to direct future raises into savings before they ever saw the money. Savings rates climbed from 3.5% to 13.6% over 40 months. No willpower required, no mindset shift, just a structural change that made the right thing automatic. If this is clicking for you, hit subscribe. I put out videos like this every week, and the best part of this one is still coming. Okay, remember how I said there was one reason nobody wants to say out loud? Here it is. Being smart doesn't protect you from bad financial decisions. It makes you better at justifying them. Psychologist Keith Stanovich at the University of Toronto coined a term for this: dysrationalia. The ability to be highly intelligent and chronically irrational at the same time. His research found it's more common in high IQ individuals because they've built entire careers on the assumption that their intelligence protects them from error. And that assumption? That's the error. A 2018 study in Psychological Science found that people who scored highest on analytical thinking tests were more susceptible to certain investment scams, not less. Because they could rationalize complex fraudulent schemes better than lower scorers could. Smart people don't see through the con. They build a better story about why it's not a con. Which brings us back to the trading room in Greenwich, Connecticut in September 1998. Long-term capital management had $1.25 trillion in derivatives exposure, roughly the GDP of France. Their model said what happened next was statistically impossible, a 10 sigma event, something that should occur once every several billion years. Russia defaulted on its debt. Markets stopped behaving rationally. LTCM began losing $500 million a day. Roger Lowenstein, who wrote the definitive account of the collapse, described the partners' reaction. They were like gods who had been told their formulas no longer worked. The possibility had simply never been part of their thinking. That last sentence is everything. They were too smart to take seriously the possibility that they were wrong. And this isn't just a Wall Street story. Legend has it that Isaac Newton, the man who invented calculus and worked out the laws of planetary motion, invested in the South Sea Company bubble in 1720, sold early for a smart profit, then watched his friends get richer as the bubble kept inflating. He couldn't stand it. He bought back in at the peak, lost the equivalent of $3 million in today's money. His reported words, "I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people." The intelligence trap isn't that smart people don't know enough, it's that they know just enough to build a convincing story, and then they believe it. The Dunedin study tracked 1,000 New Zealand children from birth to age 32. Researchers measured everything: IQ, family income, education level. You know what turned out to be the single strongest predictor of financial health in adulthood? Not intelligence, not family wealth. Self-control in childhood. The ability to wait, to resist the immediate in favor of the future. Warren Buffett put it plainly, the most important quality for an investor is temperament, not intellect. So there it is. 3 reasons smart people make dumb financial decisions, and none of them are about being dumb. Your loss aversion is neurological. Your identity spending is social. And your intelligence, as useful as it is everywhere else, is remarkably good at helping you talk yourself into exactly the wrong thing. The fix isn't to think harder. It's to build structures that work when your thinking fails. The 48-hour rule. Automatic savings before you see the money. And maybe most importantly, a little genuine humility about the one area where being clever is the most dangerous thing of all. If this hit differently than you expected, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.